person has very, very high accolades. Okay. So Nicholas, how are you doing, man?
Yo, dude, I appreciate it. Grateful to be here.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you. And apologies about the music. We're a little different here. There's a lot of
You're
crazy
great, man. You guys are out there in Southern California, and I'm born and raised till 2020
Okay.
October. When I had to peace out, man, but born and raised right down the street from your guys' office.
Oh, nice, nice, nice. Okay, wonderful. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to introduce our man, Nicholas. So he is the founder of the $1 billion brand, which focuses on helping men in 3 aspects: health, wellness, and relationships, right? He created a podcast that had over 400,000 downloads, okay? He's hit 6 figures in one day, and this person right here, Nicholas, is a true master when it comes to events, public speaking, and bringing a community together, right? Please get my back, the admin, for noise in the background, please. So Nicholas has been nominated for Forbes 30 Under 30 and a featured player in entrepreneur.com, right? He was a featured speaker at Funnel Hacker Live. Who runs Funnel Hacker Live?
Russell Brunson.
There we go, baby. Russell Brunson, right? So he was asked by Russell Brunson to speak there. And then the last thing is he is a best-selling author. So with these kind of accolades, I know that he can come in here, spit some game, and there's a lot for y'all to learn, but not only learn, right? We have to apply it. So today, Nicholas is going to go over sales, and then we're going to do a little Q&A after. Okay, sound good, everybody?
Heck yeah.
Great.
All right, everybody, let's get it. So Nicholas, the floor is yours, my man.
Thanks, Mark. I appreciate it. Grateful for you. And you guys ready to get it today? You guys excited?
Let's go.
And I know we're on Zoom and we're all muted, so like I need gestures more so that they don't have to unmute. So maybe give me some I like punches or whatever. I saw some other stuff. You guys figure out whatever you want. Yeah, I'm really big on interactive learning. I'll talk a little bit about how the intro is funny because the starting point, at one point I was 60 pounds heavier, which caused me to create my first weight loss company. And obviously if I got my video on, I'm not 60 pounds heavier anymore. Yet that was because of one moment in my life where actually my father spoke something to me at 13 years old that just crushed me like on the inside. And I hid in the house for like 4 years, barely graduated high school because of that one interaction with my father. My parents were already split up. And that one moment literally caused me to gain the 60 pounds and inside of that, all these different insecurities. And what's crazy is actually someone 18 years old who didn't just talk about things, but was walking the walk. There's a big difference, right? Like anyone can talk things, but usually if like the people are not actually doing it. And that's what I love about this community. I see all the stories that the owner puts up, and it's really cool. Yet this kid was walking it, changed my life forever in just like one simple moment. He was doing it. He was going after it in life. And I truly believe that inside of this community, we can have that type of transformation, not only today, but I want to thank the community leaders for putting the whole thing together. If it wasn't for communities like this, investing myself like this, like I was just a kid that graduated from high school with a 1.8. I went to extra classes. I went to West Hills High School, actually, in Santee is where I went.
Wow.
I had a 1.8. I didn't even think I was going to graduate. I didn't get a card like congratulations on graduating high school. I didn't get that card because no one thought I was graduating. I didn't know until like the day of that I was actually going to walk when I graduated. I really didn't think that I was going to do like anything in the business world or sales world. Like my dad owned a carpet cleaning business. It wasn't cool at the time to be an entrepreneur. When my dad would pick me up in the carpet cleaning truck, I was like, Dad, like, why you gotta do that? Like, why you gotta pick me up in the carpet cleaning truck? Like, really? Like, you can't pick me up? Like, it's just like one of those things. It's like, pick me up behind the school. Like, I don't want to get picked up in front of the school because this is embarrassing. And not only that, my family went through bankruptcy after 2008. And so it was like, I'd seen what entrepreneurship and going out there and killing what you eat, right? When it comes to selling, the best thing in the world is that as I started recognizing what's the highest income thing that I could do, sales is number one. But also on top of that, it didn't require any type of like it didn't matter what piece of paper I had hanging up in my room. I didn't go to college at all. I actually tried to buy books one time for junior college, and I just didn't show up. And so I don't know if that counts as going. I went to some of the classes and then just didn't show up to any of the others. So I guess I walked on the campus, but I didn't ever get any type of certificate. I never even got a progress report. And so with that, it was like, what options did I really have? I ended up getting married at 20. My wife was 18. I thought I was going to be a missionary is what I thought. And I really felt like I should go into business, partially because I needed to provide for my wife at 20 years old, or 18. And I got into network marketing, started selling products via network marketing. And the benefit of that, and I'm going to show you guys how to do this in any product that you sell, was that they would tell me what the product was and they just said it was amazing, right? Like they were like, this is the best thing ever. And it cures cancer and whatever. And obviously they didn't actually say that because this is recorded. They didn't say that, but that's what it felt like. So I was able to sling the products. I was selling weight loss, like protein powder. And I lost 60 pounds. So I thought, man, I could help other people. Like, let me sling this. It's the best thing ever. Because that's all I ever heard. And that company ended up going under. I ended up going from a townhome in San Diego to a 1-bedroom apartment with my wife, no AC. It was inland San Diego. So for the people that know, it gets like 100+ degrees. It was East County. And I remember just being at this point where I started cleaning carpets for my full-time income. And it got to the point where 2 years in, I made $20K the first year, $19K the first year, $21K the second. Now I'm working full-time. Like you do the math on that, bro, it's like $5 an hour. And recognize that I came from doing pretty decent selling protein powder for a different company, but they did a mess up and it messed me over. And what I recognized there is like, I didn't know how to like increase my confidence selling a product, but also on top of that, like I went back and shrunk from doing the hard things. Like when it came to selling, I just went and cleaned carpets full time. And it wasn't until I was dumping my carpet cleaning van, looking at this little place I was living in, that I realized I was paying off $100 in debt per month. And if I kept doing that for the rest of my life, I would never have the life that I wanted. And that's what freaked me out. And truthfully, for me, it was like, I was going to be just like my dad. Dumping the carpet cleaning van, drinking a 30-pack of beer every single day after he got done with work, would just get done with his jobs as fast as possible so that he'd get home by noon and start drinking all the way to the night. And like I had a father that never even told me he loved me unless he was drunk. I don't remember him telling me he loved me growing up unless he was drunk. And that freaked me out. And that's when I knew I needed to make a change. That's when I started investing myself the way that you guys are investing. And that's the only reason I did any of the things. I was a broke carpet cleaner, 1.8 GPA, married, 1-bedroom apartment in San Diego, not too far from the office. I physically had nothing. And if it wasn't for people like Mark and the team and all of that, would have never gotten anywhere to where I'm at today. A lot of the things that we've sold now, just to give you some context, is I sold carpet cleaning, built a flooring company. Then I built my own high ticket men's weight loss product and then started building a sales team around that. And then scaled into doing events. I've done 120 events, pitched and sold from the stage at the majority of my events. So I learned a lot of from one-on-one selling and then stage selling. And again, all of that was through people like these guys. Like I hired a guy named Cole Hatter who had done over 1,000 real estate deals, but he had spoken from stage for like 5,000 hours and sold $125 million from stage. So I was like, I don't know how to talk. I need to figure this out. I'm telling you, on camera, I rented a studio for 8 hours to make videos. I only got one 5-minute video done. I thought I was physically allergic to the food there. I couldn't breathe. And really, it was just I was so bad on camera. Going up on stage, my mentors that were closest to me said, if I was going to make money in my life, it was going to be because my wife was hot, not because of me, because I was not talented enough to make any money. These are the closest people to me. So I don't care what people say about where you came from or how good you are at speaking or how good you are on the phone or whatever. I got the right people, the right skills and tactics, and that's what shifted my life. And I'll tell you right now, where you are right now and where you want to be is the same exact difference of what you know now and what you need to know. The things you don't know is what's going to get you to the place that you're not at right now. And I didn't know those things. And I started learning from the very best of the best while applying it, because we know that information plus application is what creates the change. Now, all of a sudden, that's where I started seeing the results. Now we've sold millions of dollars in our own company just from stage, millions of dollars in our company just from the phone. I've personally sold over $4 million in my own company over the phone. And so a personal practitioner as well as team members from a kid in San Diego that literally couldn't even, I was having to catch flies in my house because I lived right next to the dumpsters. People used to literally look into my wife and I's bedroom window when they got the mail, because I lived right out the mailbox for the apartment complex. And every time they get mail, they could see the blinds were so paper thin that they could see my wife and I laying in bed. And I was like, this is not the life that I want to live. So I want to share with you guys a few things today that I feel like helped me the most. Also, because scripts matter so much, but you becoming the script is even more important. What we've mastered is selling to people that are highly educated, right? If you look at how sales was done back in the day, anyone could be like, come on down, like used car salesman, right? Come on down. We got rebates and returns. Nobody was educated. So any tactic at selling worked. Now, people are more educated than ever before when it comes to being sold. People say people hate being sold. Total lie. Let's reset that. People love being sold. They love to buy. They hate to be convinced. Who doesn't like to buy things? I mean, if you there's someone has something that you actually want, and you guys have leaders here that love Lamborghinis and potentially Ferraris. I saw yesterday. We'll see. They go to the dark side. It's like that. You think they go in there and they're like, man, I just hope I don't want to buy anything, and I really hope someone doesn't sell me. It's like, no, you just don't want someone to go up to you and be like, try to tell you everything of why you should do it. So people just hate being convinced. They love to buy. People absolutely love to be sold. And so when it comes to selling a product, I think that becoming the script is important, and the actual script itself becomes less important because you start actually living the script, because people can't tell that you're actually selling them. One of the biggest reviews we have from our events and through our company is that when people buy their review, like they have like a consumer report where it's like, how well did we do and all of that. The number one thing we get back is, I'm so glad they didn't sell me. And I'm like, dog, we swiped your card. Like, what do you mean? Like, that's all we did is you transferred money to us. Yet they didn't feel that they were being sold in the process. And part of that's through them selling themselves. Okay, so first thing I want to walk you guys through that you can write down. One, you're going to want to listen. That's great, but take notes. It increases your retention up to 25% from 10%. And the reason why I asked for all those crazy movements in the camera is because I was the kid in school that used to blurt out all the answers, not raise my hand. All the teachers used to hate on me. Well, now they've shown that if you interact with what I'm saying, you can retain up to 85%. So teachers need to go get a different job. Sorry, if you're a teacher too, sorry about that. But I'm a little nasty about that. 85% retention if you're interacting. So feel free to type in the chat, punch your screen, just don't punch your camera, your speakers. So first thing is client confidence multiplier. You can use this with any product that you sell. And this is because your belief in the vehicle that you're in. So selling is the number one way to generate money. Elon Musk is the number one salesperson in Tesla. The people that they don't even need salespeople to sell Teslas, because Elon Musk knows, if I'm the number one salesperson in my company, doesn't matter whose company it is, but he knows, he's like, sales is the number one thing. What do you think Steve Jobs did when he presented the iPhone? He was like, he was the number one, the iPod even, right? He was the number one salesperson in the company. He knew that the thing that moved the needle was selling. The best thing as a salesperson is that you get a chunk of that every single time you sell. And you have great people that are helping you structure that. Now, inside of that, the thing
You're
that
an
inhibits
extension
us,
of the CEO. As a sales
exactly,
rep, you're an extension of the CEO pretty much.
100%. You're able to focus down on one thing. Running a company, as Mark and all the other guys will tell you, there's a lot of aspects where you're not able to just sit there and fire away and close deals. There's fulfillment, there's running the events. And believe me, I have a deal right now where when I bring deals to the table, I just get paid a cut. And I'm like, good luck, bro. You guys fulfill. All I did was bring the customer to swipe the card. I'm happy to do that. Done at the end of the day. But you're 100% right. Also, you're the one who brings in the oxygen to the company. Don't forget that. Breathing as a person, you need oxygen to live. Money is the oxygen of a business. So you're bringing in the cash, which is keeping the company alive. In a business, money cures all. So client's confidence multiplier. This is what I do to increase my confidence in what I'm doing, the product that I'm selling, and that way that I'm continuing to pick up the phone and dial. I have to be convinced that the product is making a transformation. Something that people do on their sales meetings is share testimonials. I'm going to go over this one fast. Write it down. Do it on your own. This is what really got us to start selling a lot, was when we were more convinced to sell the product than to not to. Right? It's like, You're either more sold not to make dials or more sold to make dials. And the way I did it is I figured out what's our prospect struggling with right now, and keep asking yourself why the same way that you would in a sales conversation. Like, what is that doing? Why is that making them struggle? And what is that doing to their life? So be like, oh, right now they're struggling in their business. Okay, great. What's that making them do? It's making them drink after they get off work because they don't want to deal with the pain. Great. If they keep drinking, then they're going to get overweight. Then they're going to be less attractive to their spouse. Now they're an alcoholic. It's less attractive, not making good money. What is that doing for the relationship? The number one cause of divorce is lack of money. Okay, now they're getting divorced. Now what does that do? It causes stress because now they got child support. So this becomes a bigger issue when you're selling a product. You're getting down to the actual motives of why the customer's buying, right? Because people walk around with their pains and they're looking for someone to solve the solution. And you are that doctor that's prescribing the solution. And so inside of that, I look at what is the number one problem right now that they're struggling with today. And then I do it a year from now and 5 years from now if they don't make a change. And yes, you want to go deep. Step number 2, 100%. And this is for you, not for them. You can use this in selling, but you need to be sold first. If you're not putting in the work and being convinced, then this is the way to do it. Number 2 is if they buy from someone else, what's the common problem that they still struggle with? And this will just show you why your product is important in the market. How do you serve people different? Or how do you serve a different person?
That's perfect.
Those are 2 different things, right? Lamborghini doesn't matter. They don't serve a low-end clientele, right? Back in the day, you used to say, well, we don't advertise on TV because none of our customers watch TV because rich people don't watch TV. At least back in the day, they didn't. That's what they used to say. So they didn't do that. So it's like Toyota comes in and Toyota serves a different clientele. They don't need to be better than Lamborghini. They just need to serve a different person. Still a car. So it's like, got to figure out, do you either serve a different person that a different brand doesn't, and that's your angle, or do you serve them in a different way? Someone has education out there, they sell a course. Well, maybe you guys sell coaching and you do done for you and you actually build out the entire thing for people. You're just serving them in a different way, a different product, or giving a better guarantee. So that's number 2. And that'll show you why you're selling the products that you're selling and not a different one. Because you don't want to be thinking all the time, is there a better opportunity out there? Is there a better product? Is there better leads? Like, you want to be committed to the thing that you're doing, because where you're committed and plant your roots is where you're going to prosper. So the last one is, if they buy your product, whatever product you're selling, what's their life like right after? And this way you go more in depth again. After a year, what's their life like? And in 5 years. So no longer are they buying marketing or courses or whatever. It's like, what is that change in their life? Now, this is where it gets good. The value of your product is the difference in those 2 lives from number 1 and number 3. So if they're going to be the broke, alcoholic, divorced, paying child support, unhappy, to fit, healthy, prosperous, happy family, what would someone pay to go from here to this other life over here? Hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, just depends who they are. That's the value of the product, is the transformation it creates, not just the market price. So that's number 1. And that's for yourself. Okay.
Is that it? Excuse me, start the intro, but is that the point where you ask, like, that person has to show a little bit more reality of what it is that you're selling?
Here's what I would love to do, man, is if you could write that down for the very end. I just want to be able to give you guys as much as possible. Okay. Write it down. And I would love to, like, rapid fire any Q&A right at the end, if that's cool. You guys cool with that?
Yeah.
Can I get some fist bumps?
Yeah, it's good, bro.
Dope. Appreciate it. Okay. The second thing that I think is very, very important when it comes to selling is, I want to ask you guys, if you could type it in the chat, what do you think is the worst pain in the world? What do you think is the worst? Worst pain in the world? Loss.
Being broke.
Broke, regret, not having control. It's good. And it's a trick question because I've always gotten it wrong and I've never seen anyone get it right. The worst pain in the world when it comes to selling and meaning that the prospect has is chronic pain. Because chronic pain is just enough pain that it sucks, but not enough pain to change. This is like someone who has back pain, right? It's like, oh, my back hurts. It's like, if I were to say, hey, we have a $10,000 surgery, it takes 10 minutes, it's 10 grand and it's yours, we'll fix it. That usually what they would say is, oh, I mean, it's not that bad. Like, it's not, like, let me see if I could try some other things first that are a little bit less money. Now I'll take it one step further. Someone gets shot in the shoulder. Are they checking the prices of the nearest ERs before they go get checked? No, because it's a 10 out of 10 pain and a 10 out of 10 urgency. And so your job is walking someone through the sale. And what we'll go over is how do we literally stick a screwdriver in the chronic pain that they have so that it gets them to move out of it. Because ultimately, you know that if people exchange their dollars, and this is just a blanket for everyone, that they should be getting something better in return that they thank you for at the end of the day. They're like, oh, thank you. I'm so glad you took that money because now I walk in this freedom, right? Like I don't have this pain anymore in my life. And that should be a given. Yet to get them there, I have to stick that screwdriver in because the worst pain in the world is chronic pain. And the only way that I can get them to move is through two different ones, the pain or dream bank, right? People are either motivated away from pain or they're motivated toward pleasure. The majority of the people will move when there's pain, right? This is why most people, if they need the rest of their money by the end of the month and there's 3 days left, they'll make it happen because they're running away from that pain. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to make it. Yet they make that money. They make it in the first 3 days and people talk about it. Then they don't make any money for the rest of the 27 because that's their average. They haven't dreamed bigger, but they know I ain't going to go backwards. I'm not going to go backwards. And that's away from pain. And so the worst pain in the world is chronic pain. The next one that's really big, and all of these will fit together in the framework, is if they say it, if I say it, I could be right, but if they say it, they're always right. And so often when we talked about the convincing part, and this is really big in stage selling that I've brought into one-on-one, is consistently making sure that the prospect is the one that is communicating and saying it, not us. Right? If I were to tell you guys, selling is the number one way to make money. They're like, okay, maybe. But if I tell you a story about how I went from not making money, selling, and making a lot of money, you're sitting there going, yo, I think selling's like the number one way to make money. So if I were to ask you, what do you guys think is the best way to make money? Everyone's like, selling. Yeah, I agree. Because now you've said it, I haven't said it. And so I want to set up everything in a way where the customer is saying it, where it's tying them down to the sale, not me saying it to them and convincing them. Because they'll still question, yo, is this dude right? But no one will ever question if they're right. Everyone thinks they're right. So I'm always trying to make sure that they're the ones who are saying it. When it comes to communication, 93% of communication is not words. Only 7% is words. So often we get hung up in like, what is the words? What's the script that I'm going to say? The actual words on the script. When only 7% of communication is that. I wrote down the exact ones for you guys, which is 38% is tonality. And then 55% is body language and facial features. So if I can increase the amount of touch points with selling, meaning that one-on-one in person is going to be your highest converter, but it's not going to be the highest scalable. So I do that if I was selling a very high priced product, my conversion will be higher. Why? Because they're getting the full communication. They're there in person. They're not distracted. So what's a way that I can replicate that digitally? You could see me right now on Zoom. You could see my facial features, my expressions. If it's only audio or on the phone, they can only hear your tonality and your words. So they're not actually picking up everything that you're saying. Obviously, it's a lot easier for people to get distracted on the phone as well. So if I'm selling a product that's maybe harder to sell or higher ticket, takes more rapport building, then I'm going to try to get as many touch points as possible through getting on Zoom. They can see me. I can see them. They're not getting distracted. It's a really big thing. There's a parable that talks about that a farmer sows seeds and some of them fall on rocky soil and they like sprout up and they get choked out by the sun. And then there's like thistly soil and then there's like hard soil. And what was so interesting when I went through that was that this is the biggest thing with selling. So many times people are just making offers and selling and they're planting seeds. But the biggest thing to making the sale is actually overcoming the objections. And overcoming the objections is clearing the soil. When you study farming, farmers invest more time clearing soil than they do planting seeds. And when it comes to the sales process, we invest more time building the rapport, overcoming objections than we do actually in the close. Because when we build the rapport, the close becomes easy. When we overcome objections before they come up, that's when the selling gets easy. I remember this girl named Danny Johnston. She was one of my first sales teachers. I was about 20 years old. She was going to Bora Bora and she was looking for a home to buy. It was like millions of dollars. And she was feeling real stretched by it. She was like, yo, I don't know if I should buy this. And so she ended up going to lunch with the owner So her and her husband were like guarded. They were like, this guy's going to try to sell us this multi-million-dollar property. And, he's really successful. So he must be this hardcore sales guy. So they get to the lunch and this guy just got to know them the entire time. And they're waiting for like the sale. The dude never even sells them. Just got to know them, their family, why they love Bora Bora. He's building rapport. And afterwards they were like, we can't not buy this guy's house. And they end up buying this multi-million-dollar property strictly because this guy did such a great job building the rapport in the process. And obviously, I'm sure that they didn't even notice that he was overcoming their objections, building desire, getting them away from pain. Yet inside of that rapport building, there's one thing that I think is most important, especially the higher ticket that you sell. If you're not just a transactional card swiper, you don't have to be good at a grocery store to swipe cards, but they're also not making the big bucks. You start swiping cards, the building of the rapport is the thing that is like the thing that gets money to move. That trust being built is the thing that gets money to move, because they're on the call because they want something. Like, this is something to write down. If someone reaches out to the company, gives them their information, likes their posts, comments on them, fills out an application, requests information, that means they have a problem that they are looking to solve, and they're just seeing if you're the ones to do it. So when you get on there, you got the upper hand. You're like, I mean, you filled out the information, so that means that you have a problem. I would love to figure out what your problem is and see if we can help solve it. Like, no one fills out, no one starts following this company unless they have a reason to. Like, no one likes the post unless there was something in it that they saw that was that hit them. And no one's looking at new posts unless they're looking for something different in their life. So you always have the upper hand on that side. There's core objections. I talked about overcoming the objections. The 3 core objections that I see and we focus on are 3 called vehicle, internal, and external. These were all built by, the names of them were built by one of my mentors, Russell Brunson, that you guys had talked about, spoken on a stage, and was inside, paid him over $50K a year for 3 years, and phenomenal guy. Inside of the sale, there's the 3 things that they're going to want to know and going to want to there's a huge reason why I say that. So remember that. In vehicle, internal, external. Number 1 is right now, your customer's potential client is here. And I use client means under your protection. Customer means someone who buys a commodity and a service. So I call everyone a client. You're under our protection. It's like a higher level term. So they're here. And they're coming to you guys because they want to be up here. There's a dream life, something that they want. And there's a gap in between that. Right now, they're probably trying things to get to that result. If you look at any chick who's trying to lose weight, they do 5 diets on average per year. 5 diets on average per year. So if you have a new fitness product that you're selling, chances are they're already trying things, AKA vehicles, to get them to the dream result that they want to get to. Your job is to get them to believe in the vehicle, number 1. And usually the best way to do that is through a story, right? And a lot of times, by the time the lead gets to you, they're like, okay, I believe that this works, that this vehicle is a good vehicle. So I want to overcome the vehicle objection, that your vehicle is the number 1 vehicle that will get them from A to B the fastest, and potentially the only one that will get them there, right? Everyone who's here is sold that the vehicle of selling, that's the way to get to the life that you want. And for each of you, you have a different number that you want, a different life, place that you want to live, but you're convinced that the vehicle that you're in is going to get you there. And how did you get convinced? Well, luckily you're in a good vehicle because it is the highest paid thing to do. By far, you could do it anywhere. It's the skill that you could bring with you anywhere. If you're stripped naked, left in the desert with no contacts, but you have the skill of selling, you just go back into town and start making money. Like, doesn't matter. There was always a place to do that. But you were sold that because these guys did a good job selling the vehicle of selling. So that was number 1. Now, even if people are convinced that they want to sell, there's that internal, and maybe people went through this as well. This was my problem. So I was like, yo, I don't like talking to new people. Like, that's an extrovert thing to do. Like, I don't like talking to people. I'm not good at thinking on my feet. So I'm not good at overcoming the objections. I don't like the confrontation of pushing people. That's all internal fear. So whatever product I'm selling, I'm like, what is their internal fear? So I'll use an example. We owned a podcast post-production agency. So you have a cool studio here, and that's partially why. And so what we would do is people would record a podcast, and they either had a chance to either edit it on their own, which is like death, or they hire a super expensive agency, or I built like in between where I was like, hey, you can rent my team and they'll do all the post-production for you. And so I knew exactly what it was like. Like my wife and I, we launched a podcast, we crushed it. We got down to number 36 in the United States. My wife hated editing it, but it wasn't producing enough money to hire an agency for thousands of dollars to edit it. And so I was like, what do we do? So we put it on hold. We ended up launching it back again. And the majority of our business was built, the lead gen was from the podcast. Started going, yo, if we didn't start that podcast and we didn't keep editing, we would have been screwed. But we ended up building our own team to do it. And so it cost us like $10,000 a month to run the entire thing. And I was like, that's so difficult, but those are the two options. And so I started thinking like, well, there's the vehicles. If we can have a lower priced one, that's the vehicle. But what's the internal thing that people struggle with when it comes to starting a podcast? They're like, I don't know how to speak on the microphone. I don't know what to talk about. So how do I overcome that objection? Like if I was to sell people, you should start a podcast. How do I overcome the objection of, I don't know what to say on the microphone?
You don't have to on camera to do a podcast. You can do it all digital now.
Okay, you could do it all digital, but you still have to talk, right?
No. You can have AI make a script, AI read a script, AI does the whole podcast.
Okay, so you could go the AI route, right?
If you so
But
please.
Yeah, if you so please. So that'd be one way to do it. So that would be one thing that I could teach is, we could do AI the way that we did it, because AI wasn't as big. And I still probably wouldn't go as far as that yet. I just said, what if we gave you a list of questions that are the top ones that interviewers have, and you just bring someone on and you ask them that question and they just ramble and they do the whole thing. They're like, yo, I could do that. So it's like, boom, we overcame that objection. No longer where they were like, oh, I can't do that. And the way that I would back that up is by creating a testimonial of someone who is in a way worse spot than them. So you want to make a piggy bank of testimonials of people that tried everything, the vehicle one, they've tried everything. And then when they use your product or service, that's when they got the transformation. And you can use that testimonial to help someone who's trying all these other things. They're like, why is yours going to work over theirs? Well, the testimonial is what will tell them. Because again, if you tell them, you could be wrong, but if they say it, they're always right. If you tell them the testimonial, they'll come to the conclusion on their own. Like, yo, this guy tried everything as well. When he got when she tried everything, she then tried this product and then it worked for her. Maybe it'll work for me too. The second one is that internal. I'll share a testimonial of someone who had a bad internal. Comes to selling, I would have used my own story. Like, my dad wrote me a script, made me go door to door, couldn't do it. I choked on the phone, made 100 cold calls and didn't sell anyone. So everyone's like, yo, this guy sucks. So if he could do it and he got a good script, then I could do it. That's the internal. External situation. So this would be someone who's like, yo, there's no good companies around me. I can't find a good company to sell for. So because of that, I can't do it. Right. And for the podcasting, it's like, I don't have an audience. Even if I launched a podcast, I have no audience to promote it to. And all we had to do is just show them how to leverage other people's audiences. All you would have to show them is, oh, we have a whole database of companies that will help connect you to that need salespeople that pay great commissions because we've already negotiated.
Hey,
And so
Nicholas,
now
I
I've
have a
overcome
question.
those objections.
So that's wow.
Who is that?
I had a
Casey?
question, Nicholas, or at the end. Okay. Or what do you want to?
Yeah, at the end would be sick, bro, because I have a
Okay.
couple. I've got a ton that I wrote
sorry,
down
go
for you
ahead,
guys, and I want
sorry.
to try to get to. Yeah. And Mark, you give me like a 5 when I have 5 till questions, because I got like 30 hours of this, and obviously I can only pull out a few things for you guys.
Okay.
That
Cool.
means you had to come back.
Yeah, I'm totally down. I also gave the team, I don't know if you guys need it, but I knew I couldn't get to everything. So I gave you guys an hour and a half training that walks through a like step-by-step script that we use kind of as a formula to
That's
build
what I
a
was
new
gonna
script for
ask.
one of our products. So I gave it to the team so that they didn't think I was trying to get all your guys' emails, or I don't care about any
Yeah.
of that. I just wanted to be able to serve. So I gave that to you guys via email.
Sounds good.
Cool,
Thank you,
man.
Nick.
Okay, a couple high level things for you guys that are more on the things that no one else would be teaching out there. You guys cool for some like ninja stuff that I did all wrong, and one of my mentors called me out that sold 125 million and was like, yo, this is how you do it the ninja way. You guys cool with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So the most boring one I'll do first is economizing. Probably people say this, like, you're speaking from stage, it's great, but if you're on the phone, like, say as much as you can with as little words as possible. So like just practicing economizing, that's not the most ninja thing, but
As much as you can.
the
with
one that I
school.
still struggle with the most. All right. So economizing, how can I say more with less words? So that's number one. Number one is alleviating trigger words. There's words in every person's vocabulary that when they're said, it triggers them to bring up walls to keep them from buying. So there's certain words where it's like the most common one that I see when it comes to selling, and this is like never say this again, or you're going to want to never say this again. You'll see why I say that in a second. And I'm doing that as a joke for you guys. I would never normally say that. You're going to want to and then emphasize, but I'll show you why. A trigger word, the first one would be cost. How much does it cost? What's the price of this one? When everything that's associated with price or cost, or how much is it going to set me back, or how much is this? That's always associated with loss. So if you're like, hey guys, the price of this product is X amount of dollars, that already feels very negative to the customer and puts up walls, or what would fall into a category of a trigger word, because a cost is something that's setting them back, something that's putting them backwards, right? When they invest something, they now have a lower net worth. Or when they spend, notice I struggle even saying the word. When they spend money, that means they're not as rich. And it isn't until your product does something for them that makes that worth it. So they already have to have this feeling of losing to gain. And the way to combat that, and that's the most common one, is to replace it with the word invest.
Invest, right.
So I'd go from, hey, what's the price of your product, or what's the price of this? Oh, how much does it cost? And even if people say that, I would use a pattern interrupt. And a pattern interrupt is just something that gets them off their current train of thought. Tony Robbins is the one who does it the most. If you watch his documentary, I'm Not Your Guru, you'll see him say stuff or cuss a ton because he's like, I need to just break you. Like, you have this thought of how things are going to go. I need to stop that. And so people say, how much does it cost? And I'm like, I mean, I don't know how much it's going to cost you not to do it. We call it an investment because it gives you something better in return. The cost would be not doing it. I don't know how much it would cost you guys not to do it. I know for this person, they've done this since they bought the product. So it would have costed them about that if they didn't do it. You know, so that's a pattern interrupt, right? Because it's like, I'm combating them if they come at me. Like I have people, you call someone and they go, hey, just tell me how much it costs. What is it? How much does it cost? And so it's just like, how do I get out of that? Because as soon as they start asking the questions, you've already lost. You can write this down. He who asks the questions dominates the conversation. If you're a prospect, and this is the number one thing I hear when I'm listening to people's sales calls, the number one thing that I see when they lose the sale is when the prospect starts asking them questions. They'll be in the rapport phase. Yo, where'd you go to school? The prospect will say, Kansas, where'd you go to school? And they'll be like, oh, Arkansas. Oh, would you play any sports? And like the salesperson's answering all the questions. Yeah, I played basketball. I'm like, bro, no, like as soon as they start asking the questions, they now dominate the conversation. They own you. They're selling you. End of story. You don't get asked questions on a sales conversation. And if you do, you're just doing it wrong. Like even let me ask you questions at the end of the call thing. No, it's like, that's not how it works. It's like you ask the questions because that's who dominates the conversation, is whoever's asking the questions, not who's talking. And so if I look at trigger words, cost, what is the price? Replace it with investment. First thing. Hey, the investment is XYZ. And we talked about the pattern interrupt. If they come at you with cost, hey, I don't know, we don't really use that word, because when you invest in XYZ product, we talk about it giving you this in return. Think about this with this program. Like, all of you guys are getting taught how to go out there and make a ton of money. You're going to make more money if you apply what they're saying and actually take action than what the program costs. So how can they say, yo, the price of this program is $50,000? No, be like, hey, the investment is this. Our goal is to get you into infinite returns, which is where you make all your money back from the investment. And now it's just all free money. After you make 50 grand from the education, now you're in a thing called infinite returns. If you look at regular investing, If you buy something for 50 grand, it pays you 50 grand. Now you're in returns forever because you got your 50 grand back. And so that is an investment, and everything that I sell, hey, and the current investment is blank. Why? Because to them, they're associating it with something positive. Everyone wants to make a good investment. They just don't want to spend because they've been told by their grandma and whoever else that spending is really, really bad. So I could go into that forever. Demand versus suggest. Why I keep saying to you guys, hey, you're going to want to do this. You're going to want to have a pen and paper. The reason I'm using suggestive behavior is because, especially for the guys out there, they hate being told what to do. So if I say, hey, you need a pen and paper, there's certain people out there that literally just won't get a pen and paper because they're like, this guy, like, who's this guy telling? I know he did the intro, but like, why do I need to listen to this guy? Why is he telling me to get a piece of paper? Whereas if I go, hey, you're going to want to get a piece of paper, you're like, I'm going to want to. You know what? I'm going to get a piece of paper. It's now your decision. So I go from demanding to suggesting. And that's the most common thing that I see also. The most common one, I'm giving you guys the high level ones. You need to you're going to want to. So like even in coaching, because a lot of times the sales conversation is like coaching. You're walking people through all their crap to make a decision. And we get to this point where like, hey, what you need to do is this. Like, as soon as we do that, walls come up.
Right.
If I start going, yo, Casey, hey man, you're going to want to do X, Y, Z. Now all of a sudden it bypasses that part of his mind that puts the trigger up and also makes him think that it's his decision because I just suggested and then he decided. And when I suggest and then he decides, I'm guiding it, but it's his decision. So all of this is literally getting people to do what you want them to do without them ever knowing that you were the one who got them to do it. But then they still do it.
So when I go into this little demo I'm going to show you, I'd suggest here that you have a pen and paper to take some notes.
When I go into this demo with you, you're going to want to have a pen and paper to take some notes.
No, you don't want to suggest.
Yeah, you're going to want to, right? So I just
so
you're going to want to, which by
If
definition,
you say suggest, that brings up, it's a trigger.
Okay, now I got it. Sorry.
This concept is called demand and suggest. Demanding is saying, hey, when I go into this demo, you need a piece of paper ready. All right, that's a demand. Suggestion is the example that we just gave, which is, hey, when we go into this demo, you're going to want a pen and paper. We just found that people get better results when they have that. It's like, okay, like it's not as demanding. And again, you'll see as you start saying it, you'll start noticing every trigger that I'm talking about. Now, every dude or every chick that you talk to that says, hey, what's the price? Or, hey guys, the price of our product today is XYZ. It's like, you're going to be sitting there going, yo, what a noob. How are they even using that? When like literally yesterday, everyone was saying price and cost and everything, but it'll trigger you. You won't even say it anymore. I go to groceries now and I'm like, yeah, what is the investment? I'm like, the heck, bro? Like I can't even say cost or any of that stuff. And demands. Every time I used to speak to people, I thought, hey, if you want to do this, then you need to do XYZ. And the guy who sold 125 million from stage, he was like, hey man, like, can I give you you have 5 things that you're going to want to do differently. You're going to want to do differently. You're going to want to do differently. It's like, dude, stop telling everyone, right? Once you get in a coaching situation, someone pays you $100,000, they're there to you can tell them what they need to know. Hey, you need to do this. That's a whole different relationship than the sale. So notice that if someone pays you 100 grand, you don't have to beat around the bush. You don't have to say, hey, you're going to want to. You can get to the point and say, hey, you need to get a piece of paper out, bud. Because the trust is there with the money, right? Like if someone pays you a lot of money, that means they trust you. They've now bridged the gap of trust, and now you can communicate a little bit differently. So the next one's mirroring and matching. I think this is so underrated. I remember going to dinner with this guy named Jay Abraham. He actually lives not that far from San Diego. He did a $250 million through events, spending less than $250,000 on the events. So that's a huge spread. He speaks at all of Tony Robbins stuff, his like highest level programs, $100,000 programs. And I remember this kid invited me to dinner to meet this guy. And so I get there and I just learned about this mirroring thing. And the sale is still like, you'll see how this is still a sale. I'm sitting there at dinner and this guy's drinking whiskey, just neat. So I'm like, oh yeah, I tell the server, I'm like, hey, I'll have the same thing. And again, if you don't drink, then don't do that. But I was like, cool, I'll have the same thing he's having. I don't know what's up with this dude, but he was just peeling the crust off the bread and just like eating the crust. So I was like sitting like him at the table. I was talking to him. I was peeling the crust off the bread, eating it, whiskey neat, just like him. And we connected. He ended up mentoring my wife and I for a year. And I started noticing, I was like, oh my goodness, like every single time that I'm mirroring what they're doing, as long as I'm pulling them up in a positive direction, just a little bit, then they actually trust me because I'm not conflicting them. Meaning that if they're slouched over, I'm not just going to come in all alpha on them and be like, yo, what's going on, man? And be like, you got to match my energy. I'm going to come in where they're at and and then bring them up a little bit. So if they're being all sad and like, hey, yeah, I don't know if this product will work for me, I'm going to continually walk them through a gradient of trying to get them out of that. But I'm not going to do it by just combating them. Because now all of a sudden you're completely different than them. So mirroring is where you're matching, literally quite mirroring what they're doing when it comes to their personal posture, their tonality, their tone of voice, their speed of voice, and then guiding them, leading the conversation where you're kind of pulling them up out of that if they're low, or if they're super intense, you're gradually bringing them a little bit down where they're a little bit more relaxed. And you do it by building the rapport. So if their arms are folded, I'm taking notes on their posture. Oh, shoot. I'll fold my arms. Naturally, folding arms means that you're defensive. So if they're defensive, I'm okay mirroring it. And as soon as I get them to start opening up their arms, that shows that the prospect's being less defensive. Again, you could see that on Zoom or in person. Why tougher if you're just on a call, you can only hear the tonality in the words. And so I want to mirror what they're doing in the tone of voice, in how loud the voice is, the facial expressions. If they smile, I'll smile with them. Why? Because they're going to trust that just subconsciously. Future pacing, especially with the close. And then I'm going to walk through a quick framework on it, on the closing script. I think future pacing is one of the most important things when it comes to the close for two reasons. Future pacing is when you're trying to get them to think about the future and want to get there. So this may be the results that your product or service is going to create for them. But I'm going to give you just one key way to use future pacing that's at the very end of the call when you want them to give you the credit card and they just kind of are like, you want to send me the invoice? Like you always swipe the card. Always. Like ain't no one getting off call without swiping something. Like end of story. Even if you do wire transfer, I'm like, yo, we're putting down a 5K deposit. So I'm always like, what do I have to do to get that commitment on the phone? And oftentimes if it's like, hey, yeah, send me over the info, I'll check it out later, whatever, I'll want a future pace. Be like, hey, Mark, all right, dude, based on what you said, what we're first going to do is we're going to swipe the card for 5K. That's going to trigger our onboarding. The onboarding is going to go out. We're going to learn all about your business and all about you. You can start filling that out. Also, the dates will open up for our first meeting together. And so let's just get that 5K done. It'll literally trigger all of that so we can start creating XYZ result, whatever things that they said you in the call. So Mark's now thinking, yo, if I don't swipe my card for 5K to get this deposit done, then I don't get to enter into the onboarding, booking my call, which means that I don't get my results that this kid just talked about on the phone. So because of that, I now want to swipe the card. Whereas if I get to the close and I'm like, hey, it's 5K. And they're like, okay. Like they'd rather just sit there in the indecision and not actually do it. So I use future pacing when people are kind of like, okay. And I'll be like, all right, sounds great, man. Well, what we're going to do is we'll swipe your card for 5K. Or we'll talk about, like, I won't say price or anything. I'd be like, it's 5K investment. Right after that, though, it's like it's taking the whole thing off the money onto what's going to happen afterwards to give them confidence that they're going to walk straight into what they're doing. And I'm giving an example of, we run a company right now where we take minority stakes in companies to help them grow. So we'll take a piece of the pie. As they grow, we get a little bit of the money. And if they exit, then we get a chunk of the money as well. And so the first part of that is like a 25K program. Well, we sell a 5K deposit and then a 20K wire transfer. So like, okay. Be like, all right, great. What we do is 5K deposit. Then what happens is this: Stacy will reach out to you. She'll collect the rest of it. Then Liz will reach out to you. She'll get all your onboarding, all those courses and materials sent out to you, as well as your date on the books before it gets booked up for next month. Is that cool? Awesome. Sweet. Yeah, what's the name on the card? I just roll right into it. Oh, I didn't bring my wallet. Like, always like, bro, who gets on a freaking call when they want to buy something? You don't bring a wallet. I'm like, oh, no worries. Sounds good. I'll mute myself. Go ahead and grab it. Yeah, it's in
Nicholas,
your car. I don't care.
one thing that you're saying too is that you're telling them that when they're buying something, they're getting something, right? It's like
Always.
nobody wants to buy something and wait to not get it, right? Like,
Yep.
that's why I have Amazon Prime, because I know it's coming in 2 days. You're right. So it's like you're buying something and you're receiving. And then Nicholas, I want to wrap up here probably in like 5, and then maybe start the Q&A. I hate to do that. I know that your time's precious.
I know,
Definitely
bro, I
learning
got
a lot
some
as
crazy
well.
stuff too.
Okay.
No problem. We'll do some Q&A, and maybe we could do it about the actual script if you guys are having personal problems. And luckily I gave you guys the next session or section. I gave you guys like, or I could send it to you guys. You guys can send it out however you want. I just want to be respectful of the community. I gave an hour and a half walking through a script that we kind of use as a formula for any product that we're going to sell. We use that as kind of a baseline. So that'll be great for you guys. And I'll just say this one last one, which I just think is like on a just being good. And I have all of these for you guys too, but we ain't getting to those. Guess you have to bring me back. Negative positive presupposition. Most marketers out there, this is almost like, anyone seen the movie Monsters Inc.? It's pretty hardcore. So if your parents didn't let you watch it, then it's only for the hardcore guys out there. But if anyone saw Monster Inc., yeah, let me know. Cool. And I can see all your guys' face now. So inside of Monsters Inc., basically the whole point of it, sorry to spoil it if you haven't seen it yet, is that these monsters, the only way that they can get their money or currency to pay for energy is to go scare kids. As kids get scared, they get energy, and then it empowers their city. Randomly, someone goes in there, a monster does, and like the ones that aren't good at scaring go in, make the kid laugh, it blows up everything. The laughing's like 100x the results of the screaming, but they never knew. Same thing is happening in selling. Negative presuppositions is what most other people are using. Hey, I won't use Mark. I won't use any of your names because it's negative. So I'll be like, John, I know the reason why you're here is because you're not making the money you want. You're not pulling the girls you want. You're not driving the car you want. I know that for sure. I saw you pull up in it, which means you're probably not walking the confidence that you want. So you're just not the guy you want to be. And like all of those are negative presuppositions, right? Like I'm presupposing something negative about them that most people are using on the sales call. Hey, let's get real. You're not where you want to be in life. And how many guys have ever seen a video like this? You get like your YouTube ad and it's like, are you not where you want to be in life? It's like, yo, dog, like that doesn't empower you to buy. But that's like the scare tactic. I will tell you this, and this is what we use in all of our events, all of our scripts now, is we just replace it with a positive presupposition and use something called us versus them if we're going to say something negative. What it does is it creates a powerful identity for the buyer. Because if I say to Malcolm, yo, Malcolm, I know you're here because you're a baller. Ballers are the only ones that book calls like this because they're the ones that are looking for education to change their situation. And those are the types of people that I like to be around. Game recognizes game. Unlike people out there that jump on call, that don't even book calls because they can't even get through a video because they're just trying to watch who won the game last night. Am I right? And Malcolm's like, yeah, dog, like that's exactly right. So now Malcolm's like, yeah, game recognized game's right. I booked a call, which means I'm a baller because only ballers are the ones looking for info. These other losers out there are just trying to figure out who won the game. Now, even if the person I'm talking to is like, bro, he's got the wrong guy. Like I'm on this because I was actually checking the game this night after I saw the ad. Don't get hit and mute on thumb slicing.
Yeah.
Somebody's background.
Yeah, it's all good. I think it's Lynn Kangi. So what will happen is that if I beat you down, does that put you into state, Malcolm? If I'm like, yo, bro, we could change your situation for 10K, teach you how to do it. You're like, bro, you just beat me down the whole time. Yet if I say game recognizes game, if I want to call it the negative, I'll use what's called us versus them. I'll talk about people out there. Just say, put it all in that category. Yeah, there's people out there They don't book calls like this because they don't even want to change their situation. They'd rather just complain about it to their family. But you're different. You booked the call and showed up here because you want something to change, and you'll do whatever it takes to get there. I'm positively presupposing something upon him. When I get to the sale, if he doesn't want to invest, that means that he literally is going to have to deny that new identity and pick up that old one that I talked about of people out there. As long as it's a good product, it's a good fit and all of that stuff. So any negative thing that you would normally say, or you're seeing other people say, just say, what's the opposite of it? And how can I positively presuppose something on the person? And if I want to talk about a negative, I just point out there. It's like, you're not a couch sitter, like people out there that look at opportunity and it passes them by. And they just call it a scam. You look and do your due diligence and you make decisions. That's how you even got on this call. You looked to see if we were legit. You filled out an application and you showed up. That's what it takes to be successful. Congrats. Knuckles, bro. And then I'll get in, I'm positively presupposing something. So negative, positive presupposition, you want to use the positive one. Anything you say negative, just flip it to the positive. If you want to say something negative, just act like there's someone outside that isn't on the call. Say it all to them. It'll still speak to your customer, but they won't feel violated by you thinking that you're talking to them. That cool?
That's cool.
Totally.
It feels better too. And it's like the laughing on Monsters Inc. It produces like 100x more. Like this is what started getting us. Like I hold events and we do 200 to 600K and they're done in 2 days. And it's like, all we do is just call out the golden people and equip them with the right things to get them results. But it's all positive. And happy to answer any questions.
Okay, great.
And those ones that the guys that I made wait to the end too. I'll rock as long as they'll let me.
Yeah, Tyrone, Casey, I'm not sure if you still have your questions.
My question was to you when you went back, wait a minute. Sorry. When you were talking in the beginning and you were actually talking about, you said that 85% of people, listen or take notes or something like that.
Yep.
Okay. And then you started talking about something about, you said apply, and you started saying something about apply and something else. And I didn't get that.
Cool. It's probably something like information plus application equals transformation. Is that?
Information plus, yeah, that's what information plus transformation.
Yeah. Information plus application equals transformation. That's the only way that you get results. It's like probably taken from faith plus works.
Okay.
Like, right? It's like faith without works is dead. Like it doesn't do anything. So you have to have faith. You have to do something. Like there has to be a response. So information plus a response is what's going to get you guys difference. Like learning you need to walk to be fit and then going and walking, because the walking is what's going to change the situation. I know you also said something about client confidence multiplier. Again, that brief thing I went over is for you before your day where you're like, yo, I'm about to get it today because I know our product's amazing. I know people are hurting. I know people are going to be transformed if I just connect them to a product that does that. I know why we're in the marketplace. It's time to go help some people. And that's what client confidence multiplier does. I'll do, I think, well, it's 2 Casey's, I think, but Casey, you have your hand up and you're unmuted. So go for it.
So, are you talking to me? Is that
Yeah.
All right. So I know one of the negative words that you never want to bring up is like scam or talk about anything like that. That just puts people on the defensive automatically. But most people are skeptical of getting scammed. Like they hear so much on the internet that just scam is in their mind and they want to bring it up. When somebody
I live in the
brings
Midwest.
it
It's
up,
crazy.
when somebody brings this up, how do you steer away from this without leading into, hey, this is not a scam? That's like the worst thing you can do. But how do you steer away from that safely?
Yeah, part of that will be in your rapport building, also how the prospect got to you. So let's say like they filled out a form or an application. I'll usually ask tie down questions. They're called tie downs in the application or on the call. And I would say, I'd be like, yo, Casey, what's up, man? Like what made you book a call with us? And they'll tell you. So it's a tie down. They've told you why they booked the call. Like, awesome. Like, how long have you been following the company? Let's say they're brand new or they've been following you for 2 months. You're like, awesome. Like, what made you fill out an application now? Why not 2 months ago? And why not 2 years from now? So now they're going to tell you about why they're doing it right now. And then I would tell them, okay, and why'd you fill out an app with us over everyone else? There's like a million companies out there that do HVAC or sales training. There's other companies that teach sales. Like, why'd you fill out an app with us? And they're going to now tell you why they think you're not a scam. And now, like, I'm kind of getting there beforehand.
Right.
So they're like, hey, like, how do I know you guys aren't a scam? I'm like, well, you told me earlier that you did a lot of due diligence, been following us for 2 months. You've seen our client testimonials, and you filled out an app because you thought we were the most legit that you saw. You filled it out right now because you knew you needed to change your situation, and you choose us over everyone else. And like, so I'm just going to reinforce what they said is the big thing. But generally, like, I don't think that until the problem comes up, I don't like making things a problem. I don't think it's as like big or happen. It doesn't happen as often. If it does, I'll just listen to their story, like, oh, what happened? And then I'll write those things down as things to make sure that in our offer, I emphasize on. So they're like, I had a guy one time, for instance, I was selling a health and fitness coaching package for $12,000 for the year. And this other kid sold him a package for $15,000 and stopped delivering after month 3 and never gave him his money back. So when I got to him, I went through the sales process for 7 hours of follow-up. And I'm like, what is up with this guy? Why is he still talking to me? So that's one close that I use is if I want to close someone who's taken a lot of our time, I'll use the successful ego close. And so this guy was a business owner. So I said, oh, you got me, man. And he was like, what do you mean? I'm like, I can't believe I didn't see it. And he's like, what? And I was like, there's no way there's someone as successful as you that would invest this much time talking to me unless you already knew you were going to buy. So what do we need to do to make you feel comfortable? That's the ego close, because now he has to say he ain't successful. He doesn't buy. So if they
Can you
take
say
that
that
much
one more time?
well, one, it's recorded too, Dustin, too. That's why I kind of.
Oh yeah, thank you.
But yeah, I just told them, I just say, hey man, there's no way that someone as successful as you would invest this much time on the phone with someone like me unless you already knew you were going to buy. So what do we have to do to make you feel comfortable? And he threw his credit card at me after 7 hours because I was like, I know he has the money. Why is he like stuck? And I found out it was because of this guy. Scammed him. So he was afraid that I was going to be a scam too. So if I would have known that beforehand, I could build it into my product. And what I did for him is I said, listen, we're going to draw up a contract. The contract's going to say you're going to pay. But it's also going to have on there that if I even miss one of our deliverables, you're subject to all of your money back. Like, I want to make sure I'm on the hook too, bro. Like, I got you. Like, if we even show up late to a call, I'm like, I'll have them edit it in there. If we even show up late, it's money back to you.
So
And
you
like,
work that in. You work that into your contract with him then?
well, the contract already has that. Like, that's the
Right.
point of it anyway, right? And that's how I get people to sign contracts too, is like, they have to know that the contract's best for them. So I go, hey, so we're going to have a contract. Obviously, it's so we know you're committing to pay over the next 12 months. That's what we've committed to. But also, I want you to know what we're committed to do. And so you have it too. Like, yo, if you don't do that, that's not right. And so in your contract, it says these are the services that you're going to render in exchange for the money. If it's a higher ticket service, right? If you're over 4 or 5K, then a contract can be super beneficial. If it's below that, then, no one's it's not worth fighting for anyway. But right when I get there, then all of a sudden that contract now decreases that. But man, there's a lot of context in that. If I had a sales conversation, it's big. I would try to overcome it beforehand by getting them to tell me. But also, you could also have it with, do you have testimonials or past customers that are willing to have a conversation with the prospect if it's higher ticket? And a lot of times people will trust you just because you say it. So we have we sell a 25K package, $150,000 package. And I go, hey, by the way, these always fill up, but I just want you to know I have 10 of our past clients that will get on the phone call at any point. So if you're ever like, hey, I need to check in and go through every minor detail of these guys. Like, I have 10 different people, 10 different industries, 10 different personality types, women, men. I'm happy to give you their phone number and they're happy to talk to you. So now all of a sudden they're like, I mean, He's kind of opening up the whole thing to us. Like they can't be that bad. So what's crazy about that is that they never use it then usually, but that builds the trust. You see how that transparency builds the trust. You're like,
Got it.
just be
I got it.
you're transparent with the customer. Those are the few ways that I combat it.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, but yeah, you definitely also don't want to bring up scam ever. There's not really a benefit to it. There's a guy named Alex Formosi out there. He's a great friend of mine. I knew him since he was just starting, and now he's become huge.
Love that
And he
guy.
talks about but statements, and he talks about like how if you say but, then everything you said before, it's no good. So if you say we're the best, but, and then it's whatever you say, it doesn't matter. He uses it the opposite way. So it's like, hey, there's a ton of scams out there and bad stuff, but at least you got on the call with a company that isn't. That's the only way you could really do it if you were to combat it. But still, I would still try to refrain from using any of that type of stuff, because then they're like, whoa, why is he bringing that up? Good question, dude. Harlan, and then Casey, if, the other Casey Miller, can you throw that little gold hand up, or else I'll forget to call on you if you have that question you had from earlier. But Harlan has his gold hand up.
What is your number one thing you'd have that you do when having a conversation with someone?
Build rapport.
That'll be
Like
it?
that's, bro. Yeah, there was one thing that I could do. It'd be build rapport close. Like if that's the only thing that I could do, it would be build rapport and close. Like that is it. Right? It's like,
Okay.
if they trust a lot of people out there, if they like you, they'll trust you. Analytical people out there, if they trust you, then they'll like you. But most people aren't as analytical. And so most of the people will close if they trust you, then, or they like you, then they're like, yo, I trust this guy. I'm willing to give him money. Why do you think there's so many people out there? Like you look at the Jordan Belforts of the old school, like they were likable on the phone. So people gave them money when they shouldn't have, right? Like he was a swindler, like stupid. But like the concept is still the same. This is why I'm always so hesitant to share everything, is like, it works either way you do it. You have the best product in the world, this works. Someone has a bad product, they'll still sell a ton because it works, whether it's good or not. Nobody buys the product or service, guys and gals. I run a men's community, by the way, so I apologize. Nobody buys the product or service. They buy what they think it is. Like if you're scrolling on Facebook and my wife buys a dress off Facebook, she's buying the dress based on what the Facebook ad says it's going to look like. It could come in the mail and be a trash bag, because many times it is. It's like, that's not what I bought. Like that thing looks nothing like what I bought off Facebook. But I bought not because of the product, but because what I thought it was going to be like. What I thought it was going to feel like, what I looked like it was going to be like. So, the product ain't selling. It's not going to sell because it's good. It's going to be sold because of how you communicate it to them and what it's going to do for them.
How you conceive it's going to be.
100%. 1,000,000%.
Perfect.
Like people do that with restaurants all the time. They're like, yo, this place looks great and the food's terrible. Like they sold you. Pictures look great.
Hey, Nicholas.
And so you want to follow it up with a good
Perception
product.
is reality.
So,
Yes, sir.
so everybody, I know Samuel, you have a question. I'm going to allow the question. I have to actually run right now, but our sales director, Brandon Jorgensen's on here to moderate. So yeah, go ahead, keep going. But I would say, let's let Nicholas go pretty soon. And then Nicholas, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. A lot of the stuff that you've said aligns to a lot of what we teach as well. So first of all, thank you for being here on behalf of us and the entire community. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, bro. I
Where can
appreciate
we
it as
grab
well,
the
guys.
recording for that?